Hello, everybody. Today's February 10th, and we're doing business and social, and hopefully we can get through this without the internet crapping out.
There's a little bit of robot creeping in. So it turns out there is a outage with the service provider. I don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah,
We'll see. Ryan and I will be fine. Krista may robot on out of here. I don't know. We'll see.
The stories might fail to load portions as well, but
They're already all loaded in the tabs.
The tabs are okay. But you know who else might be out of here? Not really.
Not really.
No, I don't think so. I think
he's out of here like Senator Palpatine was out of here.
He will never really give up control of that ship because it's a powerful ship and he sacrificed a lot to make it.
Jeff Bezos to step down as Amazon CEO and Andy Jassy to take over at Q3. Now, Andy has been there almost as long as Mr. Jeff Bezos, and AWS was kind of sort of his brainchild. So this is probably good for Amazon. Now, Jeff Bezos is still going to be around on the Amazon side of things, but Blue Origin, that's where he's going to focus because he doesn't want to live on this planet anymore.
He's 57.
same.
He looks pretty good for 57.
He does, but I imagine it's all of the science from Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil is probably his, private nutritionist.
It's the Hillary Clinton children blood stuff. Right?
I don't know. I think whatever Ray Kurzweil is doing is even better than whatever Hillary Clinton is doing because she's looks like she's got some miles on her.
It might also be that Bezos is stepping aside so that he can spend his time planning on dealing with Amazon's real problem, because this is definitely the problem that Amazon is going to have in 2021, unless maybe he's got some crazy idea of how to deal with it.
Amazon's anti-union blitz stalks Alabama warehouse workers everywhere, even the bathroom. The stakes couldn't be higher for the e-commerce giant, which is fighting the biggest labor battle in its history. Now, just this week, they mailed that out to this union, so it looks like that's going to happen. Amazon had tried to block that. They were not successful in blocking that. So
when they say stalks you in the bathroom, what they meant is someone from Amazon papered the inside of the stalls, so that when you sit down and close the door, you get anti-union propaganda.
Well, you don't get to use the bathroom at Amazon, so it's not really a big deal.
Did they let you? Well, yeah, you can't be there long, right?
Yeah.
I bet those pamphlets are real short.
is there a career path that you go from warehouse worker to AWS engineer?
Mike Rowe would say absolutely. I don't know about in reality. And Andy Jassy, he's kind of being handed a golden egg here. I mean, God, you just have to keep it going on the same track, and Amazon is a juggernaut. But there is one part of Amazon that is absolutely abysmal and should probably be cauterized and removed. But Andy says no. He's dedicating himself to it.
Amazon's next CEO says he's committed to making video games. So this is an interesting story on Bloomberg. You should read it. But my takeaway of this is something completely different. Like, in order for me to explain it, you got to start with Netflix. Because, like, Netflix has content, but they don't have the delivery network. It seems like what he's thinking is they've got the delivery network and the infrastructure, but they don't have the content. And they don't see it as media and video because dealing with those companies is too terrible. They see the Wild West as games. Look at all the indie developers out there. Amazon can just do that with their programming infrastructure and build amazing interactive experiences like, you know, the next work of, you know, A Brave New World or 1984 or A Clockwork Orange or something. We can build that as a game and have, you know, truly iconic literature. I think that's what his vision is, anyway, for the games division of Amazon, but we'll see.
So far, they made that one game that I don't remember the name of. No one does.
It was awful.
And it never got out of like the early access phase because people didn't want it.
Yeah, because it was terrible. They were trying the Disney thing of what would people be addicted to, and that didn't work out for them.
I think they tried to do like an Overwatch style thing, didn't they?
They should have just bought that horrible Overwatch clone that was actually out before Overwatch.
Battleborn.
Oh,
Yeah.
they did.
I remember Battleborn.
Just buy that, put a new skin on it. It's fine.
I don't think that would work.
I didn't mind Battleborn. I think if it had launched at any other time, it might have done better. It's gone forever now.
Google also has a bit of a black sheep among all of their products. And surprisingly, this is the thing that Amazon is best at.
Google Cloud lost $5.6 billion last year on the $13.6 billion revenue. I don't understand how Google managed to do that. You know how I don't understand how Google managed to do that? Our sponsor, Linode. Linode has Google Compute compatible Kubernetes infrastructure for a fraction of the cost of the Google Cloud, and I don't think they're doing anything crazy like spending tons of venture capital money, but I could be wrong.
Well, what Google is trying to do to shore up that service is not to help the users like Linode might do.
Thanks, Linode.
They want to make big mergers and acquisitions and join up with big automotive companies. And here's the terrifying thing about this headline. Why does the car company need cloud services for the cars? Is it because they're going to be storing everything about your driving?
Yes.
Yes.
Bloomberg has the story. Google and Ford have partnered up for cloud computing. Yeah, this is just, I'm telling you now, like what Ryan said, this is the darkest timeline you can imagine. Unscrupulous automotive companies vacuuming up your data, always on listening in your car, just horrible, darkest timeline thing you can imagine. There's somebody in a boardroom that's like, oh, that sounds like we could generate some revenue from that.
Yeah, we could sell. Oh, the data team would love to get that.
We at Ford think that while you're sleeping, we can have your car out doing things like grocery delivery.
Or mining Bitcoin. And don't think that that's just Ford. They're all doing it. Tesla's already doing it. They're all going to be doing it soon if they're not already.
That's literally how Tesla built their self-driving empire, is using all that data.
And, I pointed out, I made a mistake there. I said there was one thing.
There were two.
That Google's really bad at. There are definitely two. And this one, how long did this last?
18 months.
Was it that long?
Yeah. There were several people that said this is going to last a year to 18 months, and they called it.
This was before the pandemic?
Was it?
I don't remember, but it doesn't seem like that long. Of course, the time compression is so severe in 2020. I have no idea. But this should surprise absolutely nobody. We knew this was coming.
Google Stadia has shut down their internal studios, changing business focus. Oh, nobody wants Google original games. Now, it's funny. NVIDIA, in all of the news stories and comments on this story, NVIDIA has been running ads saying, hey, we've got a cloud gaming company. Come work for us.
The NVIDIA one didn't catch on. I mean, they were the first, maybe not the first, but very early. People just didn't go for it.
Yeah.
And maybe some of those game devs can get a job over at Amazon. Seems like they're going to throw money at that problem for another year or two. And another issue that Google is having, certainly not to that degree, but something that over time I think could cause them a pretty big problem is their internal strife. And it used to be that people would write scathing newsletters and set up little meetings and do passive-aggressive things. But now they're just noping right out.
2 Google engineers resign over firing of AI ethics researcher Timnit Gebru. Now, we've covered this 3 or 4 weeks now. This is new stuff that's happening, which is there's 2 more people that have left that department. So I think that's sort of a shift in culture when you lose that many people in a division, especially a relatively these are really brilliant researchers.
We don't know that.
Well, yeah, we don't know that. But
I would put money that Gebru is not brilliant.
The culture shift, though, is definitely happening, and that's never good for corporate identity.
Especially
better or worse.
Especially when your corporate identity is basically the Death Star.
So, okay, then do you think that these departures mean that it's moving more toward the Death Star or more toward standing up for individual rights?
That's the conflict.
Yeah.
The hiring teams and a lot of the new people coming in are this new wave of communists, basically. But the people at the top are realists, and that will never reconcile. So one side has to win.
The pragmatists and the idealists. A war as old as time.
And one side has billions and billions and billions of dollars.
We're doomed.
AT&T, as we have showcased time and time again, is a terrible company. They have managed to take an amazing infrastructure head start and grind it into useless powder. And most of the time, we're talking about the TV stuff they're doing. Not even the ISP, because their ISP is so bad, we don't even talk about it. But one man is talking about it because he is fed up.
AT&T customer since 1960 buys a Wall Street Journal print ad $1,100 to complain of slow speeds. He ran it in the somewhere in Texas and New York. So he wanted investors to see it and also AT&T management. Yeah, there's a nice letter. It's broken right now.
Twitter.
We shouldn't tempt fate and reload that or anything. But you should read the letter. It's basically like, I'm in North Hollywood and everybody's working from home, and the best you can do is 3 meg, which is really like 5 meg or really 1.5 megabit. And that's really the best you can do? I mean, come on.
And he's
Fair
right.
point.
Yeah. And the worst part is, like we always talk about when it comes to ISPs, that man basically has a choice of either using AT&T or going with a cable company, if he even has that choice where he lives. North Hollywood probably does have an alternative, but the alternatives are often really bad themselves.
Yeah. Comcast has lifted the upload to 5 megabit amid complaints its low-income plan is too slow. 50 meg down and 5 megabit up.
Krista, I think you said Newhouse is not fiber, right?
It's not fiber, no. The first one we looked at that ended up having massive electrical problems, that one had fiber, but this one does not.
So you're going to be on plain old. I got the letter today.
Scrub Spectrum.
From Spectrum, and it was like, we doubled your speed.
Oh, so you were right.
I mean, it's nice. It's still not acceptable.
It still craps out as evidenced by just now.
Today's, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing about ISPs is that the little bit of water and the crust of bread that they give us to sustain ourselves, they have the audacity to complain that we're consuming too much.
Cable ISP warns that excessive uploaders, and it says that the network can't handle heavy usage. Mediacom says heavy uploaders harm the network even if they don't exceed the data cap. So they've got a data cap in place, and there are some people that are uploading data, and they're saying, oh, you're using too much. And it's like, but that's not, I haven't hit my cap. And they're like, it doesn't matter, you're using too much.
Do you think this is someone who doesn't understand the concept of cord cutting?
Yeah.
That's kind of the opposite.
So literal.
But that should be a coax, right?
Yeah.
Shh, it's fine. The editor approved it because they needed an image for this article.
The editor approved it because it was 4:30 on a Friday and it was time to go home.
Well, heading back to the old Wall Street bet drama, we find out that Wall Street Bets caught the big financial companies by surprise. That doesn't happen very often because they spend a lot of money, a lot of time and money, making sure they know about everything that could make them money. And this was no exception after they got a little bit of time.
Wall Street is keeping very close tabs on Wall Street Bets. Here's how. Basically, they're just scraping literally everything for stocks. And so it's hilarious because the people on Wall Street Bets have been clued into that. And now they're doing things to try to fool the bots. Much as we do when we talk about things and deliberately mispronounce things, which is exciting.
So this company just immediately put this together and came up with this thing where they're, monitoring Wall Street Bets. Anytime a stock ticker is shown on Wall Street Bets, this AI scrapes it, processes it, tries to figure out something contextual about the language around it, and feeds it to a dashboard. And you can pay to get access to that dashboard.
Now, these same people are also spending a crazy amount of money on bots because, if you just go click on users on, just a random post of a user and, look at their post history, they post the same thing on dozens and dozens of subreddit. There are thousands of bots. Nice.
And I think one thing that might come up here that's really crazy, but I can see it playing out, is that the Robinhood UI. Krista, I would love for you to take a look at the Robinhood UI. You would need to understand a little bit more about how stock trading works to see how bad it really is, but it's really bad.
Is it Google Analytics bad, or?
It's just, it's kind of pretty and it has rounded corners everywhere, but functionally it's a nightmare. To cancel an order, you have to go to 5 clicks through your account history, and then you have to click on the order in your account history, and then it's like an API call to populate that button to cancel it. Yeah. It's disgusting. But it looks like a modern app. It's very sleek. It's very attractive to the young people. And some people say, oh, that makes them think it's a game. It's kind of like the whole flavored cigarette argument.
Yeah.
So,
I see where they're going with that, and I think it's hideously evil, but yeah.
But will we see a court case where the UI becomes a major point?
They're absolutely telegraphing that the plebs doing trading through Robinhood is not allowed, and this is how they're going to just shut it down.
So there's going to be Robinhood on one side and a Bloomberg terminal. If you don't know what a Bloomberg terminal is, it's just like straight text and lines. And one is more professional, I guess. I don't know.
I would think.
Go ahead.
I would think the thing that if you were to talk about the UI, the thing that they should address, which they won't because they don't care, would be addressing the dark pattern of making it really difficult to do things, like things that they don't want you to do. That's what they should be addressing when they discuss the UI, but they're not going to talk about that. They're just going to be like, it's too pretty. You can't do that.
No, I think,
but it's not functional.
I think they're absolutely going to do that.
Yeah.
Read the headline.
What? Oh,
headline.
FINRA. Oh, which one of us?
You.
FINRA targets game-like digital platforms.
So FINRA, now here's an interesting thing about FINRA. Did either of you know that FINRA, much like the Federal Reserve, is a private company?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. But they do handle Wall Street regulations. And I think it's kind of like voluntary.
Yeah.
In fact, you know who didn't go through the FINRA training and get certified? The Robinhood CEO.
I think the more interesting thing here is that this article alludes to like one of the reasons that Elon Musk has such a problem with the SEC and FINRA is because they are private companies and blah, blah, blah.
It makes sense.
But they're telegraphing exactly what they're going to do. This is how they're going to shut down Robinhood and things like it.
And for a while, Robinhood got a bit of a reprieve thanks to Big Brother Google stepping in and saying, it's like, no, of course these people couldn't actually dislike this product. But it seems like they have removed that shield.
Robinhood plummets back down to a 1-star rating on Google Play, following thousands of negative reviews. Although it seemed like they were cleaning it up again at the time we're shooting this. Maybe it's a game of cat and mouse.
It's disgusting. I mean, is it not a valid argument? The app itself, can you divorce the app itself from the decisions of the brokers to screw you? Do they not go hand in hand?
It seems like they do.
Isn't that a valid reason not to like that app?
Yeah. Are they going to do something to earn, like, can you go back and change your vote later? And be like, okay, they fixed it.
I don't know. I don't think you can, right? On the Google Play Store.
You can in some scenarios, I know.
But at least as of February 2nd, the numbers from Robinhood do not seem to mesh with all this hate that the world is giving it.
Robinhood screwed its users, but is more popular than ever. Like Facebook, Robinhood seems to be poised to pull through controversy as it draws new users and investment despite a business model antagonistic to users.
And we did find out that the billions of dollars they pulled down in revolving credit was just to cover the clearinghouse margin call, basically. So now that things settle down, they could easily pay that money back. They might survive this.
I wonder if they invested in GameStop when it was like $6 a share.
For the love of God, if they're not insider trading rules about the broker.
I don't think there is. I think that's the whole thing. It's like is it insider trading if you do your trade a split second before you execute thousands of other people's trades?
Insider trading is a weird law. Insider trading is purely 100% did you know something?
Yeah.
And you have to prove that you didn't if they come after you.
That seems impossible. Even Martha Stewart's like, what? No, I mean, think about, like, you do the trading platform and it only executes trades every 15 seconds, but you can use the preceding 14 seconds to look at the trades you're about to execute and preemptively execute whatever other trades you want to execute and then execute their trades.
That would definitely be insider trading by their definition of it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
But I'm just saying that there's evidence that it's kind of designed that way.
It's a dark feature, and perhaps the only escape that we'll have from it will be to get our joy wire installed so that we can just tune out and just have artificial happiness. And maybe we're one step closer to that.
Elon Musk says his startup Neuralink has wired up a monkey to play video games using its mind. And perhaps the darkest thing that Elon Musk has ever said in in response to this is the reporter asked him, was like, but is the monkey really happy? And his response to that was, well, the monkey's not unhappy. And that's just so dark. So dark.
I hope they're not making the monkey play Call of Duty. I hope they're giving him some solid indie gems. Maybe a little. What if the monkey could play Dwarf Fortress with his mind?
That would be an incredible monkey.
And I'm not talking about that like don't even survive the winter nonsense. I want 100 dwarves in his colony, and I want to watch that.
Are there a couple of college students somewhere that are hooking up, all their pet animals for like the next search engine, and like that's the horrible darkness is like the next Google is just a basement full of primates that are doing your searches?
If they are, it's very illegal to be doing those kinds of surgeries in your home. You shouldn't do that to your cats.
The picture, I like to imagine it's like a before and after. Like before the monkey, he looks fairly healthy. He's sitting straight. And then after he has the thing installed, he's all hunched over. He's unkempt. He's sad.
The perfect assassin is like, oh, this is what was the book, The Manchurian Candidate? It was kind of dated. But it was like it was the perfect assassin because he didn't know he was the assassin.
That was a fine movie not that long ago. A Denzel Washington movie.
Oh, neat.
You should check that out if you haven't seen it. And that's nice. That's something Musk can brag about. But he did have to eat a little bit of crow this week, and I got to give him credit. He ate it. He ate every bit of it.
Elon Musk admits that Tesla has quality problems. Finally, all those videos that we did months ago, we were like, the screen, the glue is running out of it. That should be a little bit better. And people in the comments were like,
what were they like?
So yeah, one of the guys who had become popular online for fixing Teslas and breaking them down and explaining what was wrong with them actually interviewed Musk and really let him have it. I mean, it was cordial, but it wasn't a fluff piece by any means of the imagination. And honestly, what other response could he have had?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think he handled it well.
He was in a corner.
He's just like, yeah, we're working on it.
And some of that humility might have been recently developed because of this.
Tesla has recalled 135,000 cars after pushing back against regulators. This is the flash wear out. Remember, we first covered this a year or 18 months ago. So it's good that they're finally recalling it, but it's frustrating and bad because it's potentially a really trivial fix that Tesla was just digging its heels in over. But there are a lot of Tesla owners that have already had this fixed out of warranty because so many people have experienced the problem.
And he didn't address that. I don't think those people get any relief. They are going to do it for free. He didn't want to do it for free, but the regulators are like, listen, you're doing it for free. But he did say you can either get it done for free to get the same chip installed, or you could upgrade the entire screen system for a small fee.
Most people will probably do that.
But you'll get a discount for that fee.
Most people will probably do that, though. I mean, it makes sense to do that because then your trading value of your car is that much higher. Was that also the article that dropped the nugget that Tesla is only profitable because it sells its energy credits? Oh, that was a whole other story.
Jesus, man.
Sorry.
Stop the foreshadowing.
Sorry.
So, yeah. Here's the thing. If you are a Tesla stock owner, you should be a cold sweat right now. And I've talked about this a lot, and every time you commenters are like, that's not true. It's absolutely true. It's always been true. They are not a profitable car company.
CNN Business. Tesla's dirty little secret. Its net profit does not come from selling cars. And they used the same stock photo here, which is part of my confusion.
I know, CNN Business.
So there was one line in that other story about this story, and it was like, oh, I wish there was more information about that. And then I clicked the next story in the news list, and it was like, oh yeah, here we go.
I tried to pre-sort a little bit this week.
Yeah, it worked out.
So 40%.
It's
40%.
$1.6 billion a year, and they only made $700 million. So they would have been pretty far in the black just selling cars. I mean, pretty far in the red just selling cars.
Now, you might be thinking, well, who cares, right? I mean, they're making money, but here's the problem. You see, with the credits,
They're going away by 2025.
It's mandated that you have to build a certain number of zero emission cars if you are a car company. Alternatively, if you don't build a certain number of zero emission cars, you can buy the credits from a company that, for example, builds nothing but zero emission cars. But as more and more companies put zero emission cars onto their list of cars, they will not need to buy those credits anymore. Yikes.
And 2025 is when they anticipate that Tesla's not going to, those credits aren't going to be worth anything anymore.
But in the meantime, they might actually go up in value because it seems like all the other car companies are having a particularly difficult time making cars.
GM is hit by a chip shortage. They're going to cut production at 4 major plants. So General Motors becomes the latest automaker hit by a global shortage of semiconductor chips, as the U.S. automaker said on Wednesday. It's going to take down production next week at 4 assembly plants. Kind of makes sense. It's starting to line up with Chinese New Year. So
is this casual Friday at the GM plant?
I had the same thought, and I was like, that's kind of judgmental of me. But maybe they're allowed to wear shorts and tank tops to work.
I think actually that kind of clothing in an assembly line environment is preferable.
Yeah. I was just thinking,
it's
like,
less to snag.
Toyota's public relations people are, yes, our people look better. It just photos.
Their people are all khakis and polos
all the time.
Yeah,
but that's stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, I made that joke, but that's the way to run a factory. Don't make your people miserable. Don't Amazon your people.
Why is there a weird lump in your pants on one side? Oh, that's your pee bottle. It's part of the uniform.
Take some of these anti-union flyers and mop up that piss. Apple is maybe also stealing a little bit of that subsidy thunder when they bring out their electric car.
Apple invests $3.6 billion in Kia Motors, according to Apple Car report says. Or I got that completely wrong. I had an aneurysm. I'm sorry.
I understood what you meant, but I was like, wait, what?
Apple will invest $3.6 billion in Kia Motors to build an Apple car, report says. Yeah. So, but again, like, I'm really starting to read into this stuff, and this is so, like, Bob heard that Sam said that some other person said that they had lunch with Tim Cook and he was investing in Kia. And it's just like, come on, guys, really? This is crazy.
Both Apple and Kia refused to comment.
Yeah.
Also, this picture with just like dirty snow on what kind of stock photo is this?
There wasn't a stock photo, so they went outside because they're working from home because they drive a Kia.
It's Getty Images.
Of all the pictures, maybe that was the cheapest one from Getty Images they could get. They were like, this story isn't really a story. It's just something we need.
It's 39 cents.
And when Apple brings out a new product, you can usually count on 2 things. One, it's going to be really, really, really overpriced. And 2, only the really like uppity people are going to buy the newest. Only the early adopters, or the only early adopters, are going to be rich people with more money than sense.
Apple's mixed reality headset could cost $3,000 and include 8K displays. Sounds like the details behind Apple's AR/VR hardware are starting to solidify.
So this is going to be AR, but not with transparent lenses. This is just a ring of cameras around the outside, total black inside the headset with really amazing displays.
They faked this out with the glasses. That was all I could think about with this. Is like, you remember they bought the glasses company?
And we saw some mock-ups.
Yeah, and it was just like, okay, have they given up on that idea? Was it so horrifying that they were like, there's no way we can do this?
Not a lot of other details, but definitely seems like it's going to be a high-dollar item and it's going to be high performance.
Cheaper than HoloLens 2, as the article points out.
But a very limited use case situation there. I mean, I don't think you're going to pay that. You're not going to use that for gaming. That's going to be like professional situations, right?
You're going to go back to it's a really advanced version of the JoyWire thing where you're in a cubicle working for Amazon somewhere and they're having you do stuff with your brain. And like, you just got to wear that for 8 hours a day.
You get the monkey implant.
Yeah.
And that. Yeah.
Sad.
Uber is still trying to figure out how not to go out of business during the pandemic. And this is maybe not a bad acquisition because if there's one thing people want right now, it's to forget.
Uber is buying booze delivery company Drizly for $1.1 billion. Again, this is another investment that doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense on the same level as AT&T buying DirecTV. It makes no sense.
But there is one thing I did not previously understand about Drizly. Drizly is not quite the same as Uber. This is actually the business model I think you've mentioned before of a local liquor store signs up to Drizly and uses their infrastructure, but you provide your own delivery drivers and everything, and the liquor and everything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know do you think you price it yourself?
I don't think you do.
That could be rough.
I mean, you can set a floor, but, it's still demand-based. Because I think that's how Drizly makes some of their money. But again, I don't see how that's worth $1 billion. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it'd be worth it.
Probably not. I mean, they've definitely made some investments that weren't worth it. So,
yeah.
We'll see. Bitcoin had its big thunder, and it was definitely overshadowed by the GameStop nonsense. And has since rallied back up. I think we're nearly back up to 40,000 at this point, or maybe like $2,000 away from
37.
But that's is that the current price, Krista?
Yes, I just looked it up.
Oh, it's on the sidebar here. Yeah, nearly 38. And some of that might have to do with this headline, because this would definitely increase adoption.
Visa wants to work with exchanges and wallets on digital gold Bitcoin. This isn't the first time they said that, but every time they say that, it goes up.
Here's the thing, though. He was very careful to point out, he was like, I don't believe that Bitcoin can be used in transactions. What I think is Bitcoin can be stored not as a currency, but as a commodity and converted into fiat through Visa. So they want to not let you spend your Bitcoin, but to hold it and convert it into cash whenever you want. So we'll see. Still should be good for the price. Moving on to social media, Parler. Boy, did they get a lot of PR. Do you think there's anybody in the U.S. who doesn't know the name Parler at this point?
There's no such thing as bad press.
And I think they did get a ton of new users, obviously, after all of this. And then they had their whole, up and down thing. But it seems like there's some internal strife.
Parler CEO John Matze says the company's board has fired him. This article says, we don't know why he was fired, but he's spoken out and said that the reason he was fired is because he was trying to say, we need to rein in those QAnon and other things I'm going to deliberately mispronounce in order to, not be a horrible, awful platform. And so he says that that's why the board fired him.
And the board, there's a politician on the board. One of those, politicians who's in that world. And apparently they are organizing the board against him. Or, well, they did successfully. Yeah. So he is out.
So I don't know if that's true or not, that he was saying that they needed to police their content. But that's what he said, they said. But their platform was not well coded and dangerously insecure.
Well, I think it's pretty clear at this point that certain speech is just not going to be tolerated by the big tech companies. Yeah. So he's right about that in some ways. I mean, it's terrifying, but he is right. It's either bow down to them or don't exist.
Or develop your own infrastructure, which they apparently don't want to do.
Well, they did that. They did that in Russia and got their IP addresses repossessed, which Krista, is, I think, going a bit far.
Krista, what you want him to? Okay, so he has to do his own payment platform and ISP now.
I'm not saying it's like it makes sense. I'm saying that that would probably be the course of action for them if they're.
I guarantee you that wouldn't work. They'd still be able to shut that down, and they would. Twitter has. The age-old problem, you operate one of these social media companies and you come out and you say things like, we're committed to free speech and we would never silence our users and we would never do stuff like that.
Absolutely
and then
would.
A big government like China or India steps in and they're like, whatever you want, we'll just do whatever.
Twitter restricts numerous high-profile accounts in India following quote-unquote legal demand, although about 12 hours later, they put them back.
Now, I don't recognize any of these names, but it does point out that they're mostly activists.
We do have a lot of audience in India, so something you should pay attention to.
Yeah, political dissidents and that kind of thing. People who are outspoken about certain things that they don't want them to be outspoken about.
Be better than us. Don't be that way.
Also, there's this farmer protest that's going on, and apparently they're not big fans of that at Twitter either.
Oh, yeah. India has blacklisted Greta Thunberg because she's like, we need to help the farmers in India. So why is that?
Did you see there's a new Greta Thunberg turned 18. There's now a new 16-year-old activist girl. They immediately found another one. It's like there was a button on her arm that started blinking, and they're like, see you later, Greta. Enjoy adulthood. It's nothing like you expected. And finally, Facebook and Apple, the big standoff continues, and they keep just taking these little swipes at each other. I don't know if this is going to change anything, but Facebook desperately wants to try and change public opinion about this whole nutritional fact thing.
It's a clever way to deal with it. Facebook is testing notification to users about Apple privacy changes. So in the app, before the app requests the permission, you get this thing from Facebook that's like, oh, now you're about to get a scary warning, but don't worry, we're the good guys. And then you get the Apple pop-up. So it kind of changes the conversation around the Apple pop-up. This is actually kind of brilliant. They probably brought in some psychologists to deal with this.
And Apple has explicitly stated that you can talk about that policy in your own terms of service. You can reference it. You can talk about it. You just can't, get around it.
Dollars to donuts. Tim Cook is going to shut this down on the news next week. We're going to be talking about how Tim Cook was like, no, we ain't having this. Because honestly, I bet Google is looking at this. You know how Google hasn't updated their apps in months? Google's going to be like, oh, we didn't think of that. That's brilliant.
Did you freeze up, Krista?
Yes. Yes, she did.
Well, that's the end of the show anyway, so we'll try to resolve that. But imagine...
What now?
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
Are we back?
Look at that. Look at those. Oh, you're back now. Can you hear us?
I was flailing my arms. Can you guys?
Oh, there it goes again. Your frozen screen there was just such a look of surprise.
Oh yeah, I was like, and then it went out. It seems to be fine now. Oh,
imagine that you're the Facebook dev team that has to deal with this, and like the amount of tweaks and changes that are coming through your email every 5 minutes
always makes me want to slip my wrists.
It's like, are you okay? The legal team wants to change this. Oh, you know what? Let's make the pop-up 5 pixels bigger. Let's change the font. We're changing the font.
We've decided to go back to 2 spaces after every period.
I guarantee you that's happening.
It's like, I went to computer science school for this. Why is this happening?
I'm back.
My favorite one, honestly, is still the whole, like, if you have an iPhone and you use Chrome and you turn your phone sideways, it gives a web page extra margin for the notch. And if you turn it back, it doesn't do away with the extra margin for the notch. And they haven't fixed that in Chrome because this is a pending update. And some people just lost their minds.
You still with us, Krista?
I am.
Because the padding. And it's like, look, I don't have anything to do with that. That's outside my wheelhouse.
Well, good news, Krista. You've made it back just in time for the episode to be over.
Oh, fantastic.
Friday will be security. We haven't done security yet, right?
Security.
Right.
Security and nonsense.
Nice. All right. Before it cuts out again, bye.